Thank you very much. Maybe light, if we can dim them. Very glad to be here and to learn more about the crop circles phenomenon, which will be very important for the humanity in the future. Special thanks to Francine, who invited me to come here. Today we're going to be talking about the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. 4 years ago, I came to little Bosnian town of Visoko, and I saw this site. The town of Visoko is about 25,000 people inhabitants, 25 kilometers northwest from the capital city of Sarajevo in Bosnia. Of course, having traveled all over the world in the last 25 years and seeing hundreds of pyramids, it wasn't very hard for me to conclude that this is one of them. But the obstacle started when I claimed that this was the biggest pyramid on the planet, the oldest, with the oldest ancient concrete, with the most extensive underground tunnel network. So today I will be talking about my road from the discovery to recognition. We heard from Francine that people who discover the crop circles in their yards, they deny that they are man-made. In my case, it was a little bit different. I tried to convince the public in the world that this is not a geological formation, but the product of man-made activities. What they taught us in the school was that the pyramids existed only in Egypt and in Mexico. The truth is a little bit different. The pyramids were built everywhere, from South America, Peru, Bolivia, to Central America, Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador, Belize, Mexico, Atlantic Ocean, Canarian Islands, Africa, Egypt, Sudan, Mauritius, and Asia, China, Japan. The 21st century will be the era of researching the pyramids and trying to get the lost knowledge of the pyramid builders. I would say that there are some common properties of the pyramid complexes. First, of course, the geometry. In most cases, 90%, we have triangular faces, 4 of them, and square base. Second, these are built structures. They are not work of nature. The third, in most cases, we have a perfect orientation, north, south, east, and west. Angle of repose. These are very stable structures. Inside the pyramids, we have passageways and chambers. And finally, in most cases, the underground tunnel network follows the pyramids. But what do we know about them? After 200 years of investigation, Egyptology has not answered the main questions about the pyramids, at least about the main ones, about the main 6 pyramids, which are the oldest: the Cheops, Kephrans, Mycerans, Red, Bent, and Step Pyramid. We don't know their builders. We cannot say that the Pharaoh Khufu built the pyramid just because we found a small figurine 1 mile away from the pyramid and somebody inscribed 200 years ago a little hieroglyphic writings on the pyramid walls. In the main pyramids, we don't have royal insignia, hieroglyphic writings, mummies, or anything that belong to the specific kingdoms in this case 3rd and 4th dynasty. There are 130 pyramids in Egypt. The mystery is with the first 6 ones, which are much more superior than the ones that came later. The Step Pyramid is one of them. What they don't tell us is that under one pyramid in Saqqara archaeological location there is an underground labyrinth, at least 10 kilometers of radius. Of course, the pyramids are built by the Mayan civilizations, thousands of them. The tallest one stands in Guatemala, about 94 meters. What we have here, again, triangular faces, 4 of them, perfect orientation. As we move during this lecture, we will realize that the concept of the pyramid building was everywhere, and the orientation also. It seems that if the pyramids were not oriented toward the north, they wouldn't work. The only pyramid where they found human bones, in the case of the Mayan civilization, was this one in Palenque. In tiny Belize, former British Honduras, 1,000 Mayan cities, towns and villages, every one of them would have at least one pyramid. Lamanai has the tallest pyramid in Belize. The pyramids were built in Southeast Asia, like on the island of Java. The complex very much looks like a Saqqara complex in Egypt. Western border between Cambodia and Thailand, Kokher Pyramid, also Step Pyramid. In El Salvador, today only 4 Mayan cities are open for public. One of them in San Andres, and this is the model of their big pyramid. Typical Step Pyramid built from the volcanic stone. This is partially reconstructed San Andres Pyramid. On the top, something that we called temples. In South America, in Bolivia, 13,000 feet above the sea level, used to be a pyramid called Acapena. There is not so much left of that pyramid. It's mostly covered by soil and grass. But what we are finding around are perfectly shaped stone blocks made from granite. Granite is, of course, the strongest material ever. If you want to shape granite like this, nowadays we would need to machine it. Probably most researched pyramid in Central America, the pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza. And even the pyramids were built in South Korea. 3 circular step pyramid in Andong. Total of 16 pyramids in Greece. And they are all older than what they tell us is the age of Khufu's pyramid in Egypt. They are all small in size. This is the biggest one in Hellenikon, 25 by 20 meters, 12 meters high. The age, 4,700 years, or 2720 BC. Very nice workmanship. 5 locations in Italy with the pyramids. This is one of them, the island of Sicily. Step pyramid, built from volcanic stone. You see how nicely they shape the edges on the corners. This is one of the most beautiful. Hasn't been touched yet. The one in Santa Agata Goti. And about 6 months after I announced the existence of Bosnian pyramids, from eastern Ukraine, in the town of Lugansk, we heard the news that they discovered the pyramid also, covered by soil and vegetation. Yucatan, eastern Mexico, Acanche Pyramid, not reconstructed yet, and Canarian Islands, on western coast of Africa. On 2 islands, especially on Tenerife, there were dozens of pyramids. Again, volcanic stone, step pyramids. From the western side, we got the stairway, which leads to the top of the pyramid. This side is oriented toward the summer solstice. So when the sun comes up, it comes exactly in the middle of the pyramid. On the western part of the island, in the place called Icod, there are more step pyramids. They've been neglected for centuries now. When I had a lecture in La Laguna University in Tenerife, I spoke to some of their professors before the lecture, and I asked them about the pyramids. I said, did you visit the pyramids in Guimar? They said, yeah, we were there, but we don't know if they are pyramids, because the official mainstream science is claiming that these are pile of rocks. And I told them, well, it's obvious that you have 4-sided pyramids, triangular sides, you have steps, you have volcanic stone which has been shaped. They said, well, we don't have PhD in archaeology, and our discussion was over. What happened there? The Spaniards 600 years ago wiped out completely the former inhabitants, Guanche people. And after that they claimed that they were primitive, cave-level people. In reality, Guanches were very advanced. They were building stone towns, irrigation panels, pyramids, and temples. On the other side of Africa, so Canarians are here, Africa, and here we have Mauritius, tiny island of Mauritius. Next year, 2010, they are going to celebrate 500 years of the existence of this island, actually of the population which, according to the government and the scientists there, inhabited that island. There is a little problem there. They have pyramids also. They have 7 of them. The fields, you can see those nice structure, exactly the same like on Canarian Islands or in Sicily. Volcanic rock, nicely shaped, 4-sided triangular pyramids. I wrote to them, to the government, to the universities, asking to have meetings with them so we can research them. They were telling me, no, these are pile of rocks built by farmers during 1940s while they were clearing up the lands. 150 years ago, the site of Teotihuacan, the most beautiful ceremonial site in Mexico, looked like this. The famous Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan, completely covered by soil and bushes. 3 archaeological campaigns that took place during 75 years period brought us this site. One of the most beautiful structures ever built on the face of the planet. The height, 74 meters. Cheops Pyramid in Egypt, exactly 2 times higher, 148. The sides, 230 meters, 230, 230, 230. Cheops, exactly the same. Like we had the same architect on 2 different continents. Of course, tourists are coming in millions. 4 million people visit this place every year and leave $5 billion. 8 million people on Giza Plateau. They leave $15 billion for Egyptian economy. The Chinese pyramids finally became a topic a few years back. The Chinese government, of course, during 1960s and beginning of 1970s did not want to talk about it. But thanks to the satellite technology, we were able to find all 250 pyramids in the central Chinese province of Shanxi. They are all covered by soil and recently planted vegetation. One of them, which they called Yang Ling Mausoleum in central China, as we can see, completely covered by soil. When looked on this model, we can see perfect triangular faces, 4 of them, flat top, plateau on the top, and perfect orientation, east, west, north, and south. Some of them are step pyramids. Out of 250 pyramids, about 20 of them are superior in size and the building materials. The rest of them are smaller. They are called satellite pyramids. And the Chinese archaeologists did a lot of work on them. They know exactly who they belong to, who built them. But the work on the biggest pyramid is still forbidden. In the previous movie, somebody mentioned Nazca Lines. 50 kilometers south from Nazca Lines in southern Peru, there is an archaeological location called Cavachi. 6 years ago, during my visit, the Italian archaeologists told me that they discovered 3 step pyramids. 2 years ago, when I visited again, now they are talking about 34 pyramids. If we go to the northern side of this beautiful country, Peru, there is an area called Tucumán, 250 pyramids in Tucumán area. They are all built from the adobe brick. This is the biggest one, also called Pyramid of the Sun. Northeastern side brings us Huaca del Sol, again the Pyramid of the Sun. 140 million bricks were used in order to build this monster. 140 million bricks. Each one of them is an original. When we look at the face, the top side, we can see the lines, the spirals, the dots. So somebody was very carefully making those bricks. The archaeologists are saying it would take 20,000 people, 300 years, to build only this pyramid here. There is no evidence of at least 100,000 people living here, because if you have 20,000 people doing only the work on the pyramids, you would need at least population of 100,000 people for 300 years. That evidence is not there. So who built those pyramids? This is one of the biggest pyramids on Yucatan, Coba, belongs to the Mayan civilization. Tula in northern Mexico is rather interesting. 3-step pyramids, but on the top of one of them we have 8 stone columns, and they represent the faces of all races on the planet. They teach us in the history books that there was no communication between the continents until Europeans came to Central America. Of course, Yonaguni Islands and the 13 underwater cities became rather famous starting 1995. Between the coasts of Japan and Taiwan, 13 cities were discovered on the depth between 30 and 80 meters. The last time when the ocean level rose for 80 meters was 12,500 years ago, when the ice age ended, because the huge quantities of ice melted, and obviously then those cities came underwater. So who built them and when? Our understanding of human history, at least what they teach us in the books, is that the human civilization started 7,000 years ago with Sumer, then Babylon, Akkad, Assyria, ancient Egypt, ancient India, 7,000 years. Here we have traces of advanced civilization who was able to shape huge megalithic blocks at least 12,500 years ago. Another mystery for the mainstream scientist, Eastern Turkey, the site is Göbekli Tepe. 45 of the T monoliths were discovered. The radiocarbon dating are telling us that it is at least 13,000 years old site. Of course, Machu Picchu. What they teach us about the Machu Picchu, that it was a royal retreat for Incas. Wrong. Incas came to this area in the 13th century and they spent 250 years. But in this particular case, we can see at least 4 distinctive styles. The first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. The first one being the most superior. We have stone blocks of over 250 tons. The structure of this stone is the same like the structure in the quarries in the Bolivia. No stone like this in Peru. 250 kilometers or 160 miles. 250 tons. Remote area, 14,000 feet above the sea level. How they managed to move those stone blocks. The second civilization has distinctively different style. Huge stone blocks, and they are all different size. They perfectly fit each other. No adhesive material. No 2 pieces of stones are the same size. The third civilization would do the same thing what we've been doing last few decades. They would do a mass production of the same size stones and put them together. And finally, the fourth one, the most primitive one, are the Incas. They found deserted temples. They divided them, put their partitions, little roofs, and that's what they called royal retreat. This stone only is changing our perception of human history. We have technology to move the stone blocks today. We can move 250 to 300 tons. That's what our technology limits us. 2 biggest construction companies in the world, the Bechtel and the American Corps of Engineers, have such equipment. In eastern Lebanon, in Baalbek, there is a stone block which is 1,200 tons in weight. How do we know? It's very easy to calculate. 5 meters by 5, 25 times 28 meters, about 600 cubic feet times 2.2 is about 1,200 tons. Somebody shaped 1,200 tons in this quarry thousands and thousands of years back. 1 mile from this quarry, at the nearby hill, there are the walls which contain the stone blocks. This one here is 840 ton. It is in the 4th row. Couple of rows below that are the stone blocks at 450 tons, and the first row is about 250 tons. So somebody had ability in the distant past to shape, to transport, and lift 3, 4, or 5 times more than we can. So this is a physical proof that more advanced civilizations existed on this planet. We do not know, we do not need to go to the spiritual realms. We can stay in physical, material world. 6 huge megalithic blocks in eastern Peru, town of Ollantaytambo. About 600 tons altogether. The material, rhyolite, which is some type of the volcanic rock. It's brought from the neighboring, from the Bolivia, about 280 kilometers. Archaeologists are calling it unfinished wall. Actually, they don't have the answer. Who shaped it, how did they move it, and what does it represent? We think it is unfinished because, as per our definitions, we need to have something, chamber or some type of the geometrical shape. How about the energy under this so-called wall? I think the intentions of the original builders was to make exactly this. When they finish it, they left it here. 224 pyramids in the Nubian desert, the kingdom of Nubia. Another pyramid in Tahiti, discovered by the Dutch sailors 250 years ago. Pyramid of the Moon in Teotihuacan 150 years ago, and today. Now, pyramids and the crop circles. From a couple of years back, we did have a pyramid in the field, not two-dimensional, but three-dimensional. Another one 10 years back. So finally we are coming to the Bosnian Pyramids. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. This is the biggest pyramid ever built on the face of the planet. The big Sun Pyramid in Mexico was 74 meters high. Cheops, 148, 2 times the size. The Bosnian Pyramids, 3 times the size of the Mexican pyramid. When you look at the Mexican pyramid, you would say the builders wanted to reach the sky. So what did the Bosnians do? Let me show you a little video clip. The town of Visoko, one of the rivers, total of 2 rivers here, completely covered by solid vegetation. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Eastern side, northern side, western. The length of the corners here and there, the same. 220 is basically from here. Rather obvious. On the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, during the medieval times, there was a little castle here where the Bosnian rulers ruled the area for about 250 years. That's a common sight. You have cultural layer on the top of the cultural layer. The similar thing is in Mexico. Cholula Pyramid had a huge cathedral built by Cortes 350 years ago, and they didn't even know that it was built on the pyramid because it was already covered by soil. We have a total of 5 structures. The Bosnian Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, and Love. This is their layout. Sun, Moon, Dragon, Love, Earth. A few more structures that we are discovering in the area. How come we call them the pyramids of the Sun and the Moon? The ancient people, of course, looking at the sky, and they were building their structures following certain events. Solstice was one of them. Like in the case of Mayan town, they built a gate that only during the 21st of June, the sun comes in the full light. Pyramid of Kukulkan, Chichen Itza, during the spring equinox, and only on that one day, the play between the light and the shadow creates a snake coming down the stairway. In our case, we can see the shadow of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun on summer solstice, and here is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon located. Just before the sunset, the shadow of the Sun Pyramid forms another pyramid which is the same height like the Moon Pyramid and parallel to it. 2 months later, we follow the shadow of the Sun Pyramid again, going towards the Moon Pyramid, and just before the sunset, this shadow covers the Moon Pyramid and touches the top of the Moon Pyramid. What does it mean? It means that the builders first built the Sun Pyramid, and then they were checking the sunsets, and then they determined the location of the Moon Pyramid, and based on the shadow they determined the height of the Moon Pyramid. Ingenious. Sun, Moon, Dragon. We connect the tops from Sun to Moon, from Moon to Dragon, back to Sun. We measure the sides, 2,180 meters. 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees. Equilateral triangle. The Love Pyramid, the triangle on the Temple of Earth, the place where probably there is a tunnel which touches the river. We connect these dots, we are getting another equilateral triangle, and we have triangle within the triangle. Sacral geometry. We have invited so many scientific institutes and leading researchers to Bosnia, and I would say in our case we have the biggest geoarchaeological project on the face of the planet in the last 4 years. We have spent over 300,000 hours digging, doing the lab analysis and the radiocarbon dating. We invited the leading German geophysicists from the company called LJ Bautechnik. They brought their georadar equipment that can penetrate the surface for about 18 meters, about 60 feet. We gave them several areas. The conclusions, the GPR measurements were successful. Over 10,000 square meters was explored. They found 44 what they called anomalies that cannot be explained by the work of natural forces. Actually, what they found were the walls of the pyramids, the passageways, chambers, and so on. This is an example of one of the underground passageways, which they clearly marked here. Then we invited a team of georadar specialists from University of Belgrade, from Serbia. They also applied very sophisticated methods, seismic refractions, reflection, electromagnetic methods, and georadar recordings. And we're going to be telling a little bit more about their results as we move on. This is the view of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun now from different angle. Here we can see clearly the corner between the west side and north side, corner between north and east, west and south. And this is the causeway that leads to the top of the pyramid. As you can see, it's completely covered by grass. Here on this photo, georadar is telling us that the thickness of the grass and soil is about 0.5 meter. And below that, 1 meter below, we have continuous plateau, which is built from the sandstone plates like this, completely paved. Then what we did some core drilling on 6 different places to prove that, and we did prove that. This is a very nice 3D topographic map of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Flat top, edge between north and east, between north and west, which we just saw on the photo, between east and south, and the causeway. The same angle, the same slope from the bottom to the top on each side. Another one, the satellite photos, the thermal analysis. We have checked the whole area for the thermal analysis, and then we realized that 5 pyramidal shaped hills lose the energy much quicker than the rest of the area. Why? Because they are full of internal passageways and chambers. The geometry of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. The base is rectangular. Approximately 10% of Egyptian pyramids have the rectangular base. 660 meters, 440, 220. One of the labs in Sarajevo, from the University of Sarajevo, checked for the radioactivity, and they found no radioactivity in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Then we invited leading Russian scientists, the geophysicists from the Russian Academy of Sciences, Professor Kavroshkin and Professor Tsiplakov. They have their equipment to check for the geochemical, geophysical and seismic measurements, and last 10-15 years they've been checking another archaeological sites like the one in Giza, Saqqara and the others. So they know exactly the results and the difference between stone structures in the shape of the pyramids and the natural hills. They came to Bosnia, they spent 2 years with us, and the conclusion is that the Bosnian pyramids match the Egyptian pyramids in form and the structure. They sent a report to Moscow, and as you could hear in the beginning, they admitted me to the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences as a foreign member. Another interesting thing, you know that Egyptian authorities do not let scientists from different fields to come and research there. Egyptians claim that the pyramids on Giza Plateau served as a burial, sites. But we did allow one of the British scientists, his name is Dr. Harry Oldfield. He has a special 3D camera, and he can register the electromagnetic fields, which are otherwise not visible to naked human eye. Now this is a picture of an ordinary hill. What we can see above the hill, we can see those electromagnetic fields. They are horizontal and they don't move, they are static. And then what he did, he filmed the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Let's see the results. It has been for the first time that one pyramid has been filmed on this special camera. This is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And look at the fields. They move and they are vertical. Look at inside the pyramids. The red color shows the energy that got accumulated. It's growing. Look how much you have it. And then it got released through the top. Now let's say a few words about the archaeological work. So this is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. These are different locations where we did some digging. And as you can see, wherever we were digging, we are finding the stone blocks. So under the layer of between 50 and 100 centimeters, there is a huge stone structure. So if we disregard the greenery, like in the case of Mexican pyramids, we would get a huge stone structure in the shape of the pyramids. This side is perfectly oriented to the north. Cheops pyramid has an error of 0 degrees and 2 minutes. The northern side, in the case of Bosnian Pyramid, has an error of 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 12 seconds. This is a very interesting place. The corner, the edge between north and east. When we uncovered it, we found a typical artificial corner at 90 degrees. Look at it here. This is our archaeological sonda number 4C. We removed about 80 centimeters of soil and we are finding the stone blocks. This guy here is 4.5 meters long, 1.5 wide, 45 centimeters thick, 4.5 tons. Next to it, another stone block. Look how it is moved, approximately the middle of the first one. Why? Because of the structural stability. The third stone block is here. You can see they form the same slope. Now, on the georadar measurements, even before we started, we knew that we're going to find a continuous row of stone blocks. Now, let's see how they're laying one on the top of each other. The first one, 45 centimeters thick. The second one, 40 centimeters thick. The third one is moved a little bit, again for structural stability, 45 centimeters. Underneath is the fourth one. Then we have a layer of clay, 45 centimeters. And then the fifth row of the stone blocks, the sixth row of the stone blocks, seventh row is the clay, the eighth row are the sandstone plates. This stone here, this is something different. This is a concrete. Another sonda, we removed a little bit of the soil and then we are finding huge stone blocks and we can see their continuation on the ground. And another one, this is our sonda number 12 on Sun Pyramid. Now here we can see 4 rows in 3 meters depth. So we knew about this rupture, this one here, even before we started digging. There is another one a little bit below, and it seems that this is a possible passageways. You can see here. Now the problem is that first year, 2006, when we discovered all these proofs that we have a huge stone structures, then the Ministry of Culture and the Commission for the Natural Heritage, they claimed the whole pyramid is protected area. They changed the law because of us. Then we applied for the permit and they never gave us a permit. So basically from 2006 we are not allowed to dig here. The explanation is saying it is all natural. But during that first year we brought something new in the world of archaeology. We brought the excitement of archaeology. We brought something that it was unknown for 100 years. And from the discovery of Tutankhamun, or 200 years, when Napoleon came to Egypt, again we brought that excitement to the European continent. So many volunteers came and worked with us. People who wanted to be a part of history. It's not a little thing to discover the first European pyramids, the biggest on the planet, the first concrete on the planet. So people did not just want to be a witness, but they wanted to be a part of it. We took the samples of the stone blocks, sent it to several labs. We got 4 labs in Bosnia, Civil Engineering Institute in Tuzla, University of Zenica, University in Sarajevo. The results, as far as the chemical composition, we have a big percentage of calcium carbonate, which is adhesive material. Hardness is extremely hard. In the case of this sample, is 73 megapascal. Our concrete is between 10 140 megapascals. So this is 2 or 3 times harder. The water absorption in this case is about 1%. We allow up to 3% in our concrete. So this material has much better properties than the best quality concrete on the planet today. In other analysis about, actually in this case that we had several dozens of samples analyzed in this institute, the hardness is even higher. It goes up to 133 megapascal. So basically what we have here, we have the first concrete, much, much older than the Roman concrete. So in this analysis, they concluded that for the concrete they used material which was available in quantities at the time. It's available even today. Pebbles, sand. And what they did, as far as a technological process, they used moderately baked clay, so basically up to 500 degrees centigrade. They would crush the clay, mix it with the water, heat it up to 500 degrees, and then the clay is getting adhesive properties. And then the clay was mixed with all this material which is available in big quantities in the Visoko Valley. This is another location with the big stone blocks. As you can see, one guy is working and about 200 is just watching. It's typical productivity. And on top of that, we have another guy talking to the others. A little pyramid in El Salvador, El Chuatan. Look at the shape. And another one, the same shape, but this time in Bosnia, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. Here's a photo. The western side of the pyramid, northern, southern, eastern. On the top we have plateau. Unlike the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, the Moon Pyramid is designed as the terraced pyramid. You have a terrace and then you have layer of clay. Terrace, layer of clay. Wherever we were digging, from the bottom to the top, on different sides of the pyramids, we are finding terraces, rectangular stone structures, vertical walls, more terraces, steps, shaped, blocked, and plates, little walls. So this is a huge stone structure in the shape of the pyramid. Of course, we should be looking for Egyptian pyramids in Bosnia, or Mexican pyramids, or Peruvian, but for the unique Bosnian stone structures in the shape of the pyramid with the perfect orientation. Once we removed about 1 meter of soil and clay, we discovered a beautiful terrace right here, made from sandstone. Sandstone is very common material in Bosnia, so they were always using common materials. When we announced the news to the world that we discovered the pyramids, man-made stone structures, a lot of people attacked us, from European Archaeological Association, from Bosnian archaeologists, from the museums, from the US, from Boston, from different places, claiming that the pyramids could not exist in Bosnia. There were no civilization there, so it was impossible. But what we are discovering here are the real stone structures. Their only argument is, they're saying, it's all natural there. You make your own conclusions. Did the Mother Nature shape this block in the quarry, transported it, lifted, and made this beautiful terrace? Or man? Or intelligent being, not to be very precise. Another terrace, nicely shaped blocks, the first row, the second row, the third row. Another terrace, this one is on the top of the Moon Pyramid. We remove the soil layer, first terrace, second, third. Then we cut the hole to see how the section looks like, and this is how it looks like. Stone block, stone block, layer of clay. Clay obviously being used as the adhesive material, as the insulation, and the waterproof. And in the case of earthquakes, when you have a clay, it lets your structure move, so it doesn't get damaged. More terraces, clay. Obviously clay was used as the construction material here. Another terrace, clay, all the way to the top. The age. Of course, the best institution to help us with the age is first to determine the age of the soil, which covers the pyramid. The Institute for Pedology in Bosnia came, took several samples, and they were telling us for 1 centimeter of soil, it takes 250 to 300 years to form. So the average coverage of the pyramids is about 40 to 50 centimeters. Let's say 40 centimeters. If it takes 300 years for 1 centimeter, 40 times 300, 12,000 years. It means that the pyramids have been covered by soil for 12,000 years. Well, how old are they? I mentioned clay as the construction material. Here we have the Chinese pyramids. Clay, brick, sandstone. Huge amounts of clay were used to construct their pyramids. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. Back to Bosnian pyramids. Here's a detail of the terrace. Look at the lines between the shaped plates. Some of the geologists are saying, well, these are all natural plates that broke over the time. If the natural plate was breaking, then it would break all the way. Not like this, at 90 degrees. Or like that. We have one step here, 7 meters away, another step. 7 meters away, another step. It is a result of the planned human activity. More shaped plates, tiles, neatly laid out one to another. A couple of kilometers from the Bosnian pyramids, there is a real nicely rounded hill. And now we know it is a tumuli. We've done some digging here, on this side, a couple of other places. We've done georadar screening. We can see the green layer is, of course, the soil. The yellow is clay. The blue are terraces. And the red are internal passageways. We started digging. But as we can see, one guy is working, two are not, which is not a bad ratio. Again, we have clay and the stone blocks. We have more stone blocks. This guy is 4 meters 40 long, 1 meter 70 wide, 63 centimeters thick, 23,600 kilos, 24 tons. 20 tons, 58, 12. The biggest stone structure with the biggest stone blocks on the Balkan region. Interesting thing is, you can see the texture on the top, the same like on the Moon Pyramid, on some of the terraces. These are 2-layer blocks. The top layer is about 7 centimeters thick. It comes with this texture, and it is glued to the base. Then we did the core drilling on several places. The most interesting one was from the top. This tumuli is about 34 meters above the level of the road, 34. And I said, okay, we're going to do 70 meters deep hole, and we're going to see how the material looked like. In this palette, we have this material by the meters. Here is 54, 53, 52, 51, and so on. The first 54 meters basically follow what we could see there, clay and stone blocks. And then on 54th meter, right here, the head of that pipe broke, so we knew that we found a much harder material than the rest of the structure. We changed the head and then we continued very slowly. So for the next 2 meters, we were extracting the concrete. So we have at 54 meters depth a concrete layer of 2 meters thick. After that, for 3.5 meters, there was nothing, a hollow space, probably a chamber. And after that, another 2 meters, concrete, probably foundation. I took a sample of this concrete material. I met with Professor Joseph Davidovits of French Institute for Geopolymers, rather famous chemical engineer. When he saw it, he said, this is a concrete. When he took it back to France under electronic microscope, he confirmed that it was cemented concrete. A few words about the underground tunnel complexes in the world. This is a Chinese pyramid, Li Chonggrun Museum, which shows the underground tunnel, the ventilation shafts, and a couple of chambers exactly under the middle of the pyramid. This is Peruvian Pyramid of the Moon, Huaca de la Luna, northeastern Peru, near the city of Trujillo. This is how it used to look. This is how it looks today. Inside we are finding a lot of passageways. In the most artistic Mayan city of Copan in western Honduras, when they were doing the reconstruction work on the pyramid in 1989, they discovered that inside the pyramid there was a perfectly preserved temple which they called the Rosalila because of this specific rose color. So in this particular case, the pyramid was used as a shell. The largest pyramid in Mexico is the one in Cholula. There is about 12 kilometers of internal passageways inside the pyramid. And this is a photo of the northern side of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. The black lines show the internal passageways. With the satellite radar, you can penetrate only about 4 meters, about 13 feet. But even with the 13 feet, we discovered several passageways rather close to the top of the pyramid. And they intersect, as you can see, at 90 degrees. We lose them here. The reason why, they go much deeper. So we know that inner passageways are even there. Now, we have discovered 2 entrances in the network of underground tunnels. They're a little bit away of the pyramids, but they go in direction of the pyramid. The first one is called the network Ravne. It is tens of kilometers long. This is how it looked like when I discovered it 4 years ago, about 1 meter high, 80 centimeters wide. What we did in the meantime, we enlarged one narrow tunnel to about 2 by 2 meters and put the wooden support. Once we started enlarging them, 5 minutes, okay, we found a number of side tunnels with a lot of side walls. And then under the conglomerate we are finding a huge megalithic blocks. This is one which we discovered 3 years back. On the top of it we found a number of symbols carved in the blocks. A lot of arrows, something like Greek lambda. On this block, which is about 4.5 tons, we discovered about 25 different symbols. These are first traces of literacy in this area, maybe in Europe. This is the network of the tunnels. We checked for all the safety measures regularly. Humidity is very high, 99%. The ventilation is perfect. The temperature up to 10 degrees. Oxygen 21%. So we have perfect conditions for further digging. The process of putting the wooden support. One of the side tunnels, it's blocked off. Look at the dry wall, probably from the waterbed. More symbols. And more symbols. We keep every artifact on the original place. It seems to us that all these megalithic blocks have been made in situ, probably poured by technology which is unknown to us. And then underneath we can see the bedding. So somebody put the plates under the blocks. And most probably the very top, the surface, presents something. Maybe the topography of terrain with all these hills and the rivers. This is the map of the tunnel. We found a couple of sections where the ceiling collapsed. Between those sections, layer of stalagmite formed. We marked it. We took the samples. We sent the samples to the labs for the analysis. The Polish lab in Gliwice is telling us that this stalagmite is 5,080 years old, over 5,000 years old. We found some stalactites as well, more than 3,500 years. What does it mean? It means this is the minimum age of the tunnels, because somebody built them, used them, left them, and then some sections started collapsing. But even with 5,000 years, it's older than anything known on the Bosnian soil, older than Bosnia under Ottoman Empire, medieval kingdom, ancient Rome, 2,000 years, ancient Greece, 2,500, Illyrian tribes, 2,800, Butmir culture, 4,600. So this is a sensational discovery. The story does not end here. We found a piece of organic material, a piece of wood in the conglomerate walls. We sent it to 2 labs from Germany, from Kiel, Christian Albrecht University. They are telling us the age of the wood is 30,600 years, plus minus 500 years. It's very possible that the tunnels were flooded then, but it means that the tunnels were already there when flood happened. The same organic material was analyzed in Gliwice in Poland at Silesian University of Technology. The date is even higher, 34,000 years, plus minus 1,500. If this is true, how does it correlate with the movement of the different nations? We know that the oldest civilization in Europe are the Basques, 55,000 years. The second oldest is the Balkan Peninsula, 35,000. What did we have over 30,000 years? We did have ingenious cave paintings in Spain and southern France. Chauvet, radiocarbon dating is taking us 32,000 years back. Altamira is of course very famous, Lascaux and the others. Another phenomenon in Bosnia, Bosnian stone spheres on 20 different locations. Of course, we know about the stone spheres in western Mexico, in Costa Rica, and Easter Islands. But we have them in Bosnia. And more. Different sizes, different materials, volcanic stone, sandstone, or granite. Man-made, unfinished sphere. This one is also unfinished. The surface is not polished. This one is about 15 tons. The last one we discovered 3-4 months back. We took the samples, 4 of them. The 5th one was from the natural stone. The result shows the difference is in calcium carbonate. There is no calcium carbonate in natural stone, a lot of in those stone spheres, and mangan, no mangan in natural stone, we have it here. The conclusion, the stone spheres were made, they were poured on site, polished, and mangan was added so they can be much harder. What did ancient civilizations were doing with the stone spheres and the stone pyramids in Bosnia? And the megalithic towns in Bosnia, like this one, Darson, southern part of the country, tons and tons, perfectly fit on each other, like in Peru. Well, this one is Peru, Bosnia, Croatia, Easter Island. 500,000 visitors in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids in the last 4 years. Finally, the world news and the world media are not talking about the war in Bosnia and all the troubles we've been going through, but about something nice. Archaeology, cultural heritage, archaeological tourism. People are coming from, actually they've been here from 80 different countries. Bosnian president, the Saudi prince, Turkey Al Faisal. We asked him for some money, didn't get any yet. And I'm going to finish with a couple of artifacts that we discovered there. This sandstone plate with a lot of engravings, probably those represents pyramids, with some astronomical features, star systems, amulets, 2 different types of stones, stone circles, molds for tools, stone knives, sandstone foot with 5 toes, and one Neolithic pyramid was discovered there by German archaeologists, saying it's 6,500 years old. So probably the Bosnians at that time were seeing the pyramids with no soil and forests. They could see them like this. Or even at that time we had the tourists in Bosnia, so this was the first Bosnian souvenir. Last year we held the first international scientific conference about the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, where 55 distinguished scientists from 13 different countries concluded this is an archaeological location very important for the world. I thank you for your attention. Be a break. I'm not going to remove my. Thank you very much. Maybe light, if we can dim them. Very glad to be here. and to learn more about the crop circles phenomenon, which will be very important for the humanity in the future. Special thanks to Francine, who invited me to come here. Today we're going to be talking about the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. 4 years ago, I came to little Bosnian town of Visoko, and I saw this site. The town of Visoko is about 25,000 people inhabitants, 25 kilometers northwest from the capital city of Sarajevo in Bosnia. Of course, having traveled all over the world in the last 25 years and seeing hundreds of pyramids, it wasn't very hard for me to conclude that this is one of them. But the obstacle started when I claimed that this was the biggest pyramid on the planet, the oldest, with the oldest ancient concrete, with the most extensive underground tunnel network. So today I will be talking about my road from the discovery to recognition. We heard from Francine that people who discover the crop circles in their yards, they deny that they are man-made. In my case, it was a little bit different. I tried to convince the public in the world that this is not a geological formation, but the product of man-made activities. What were the pyramid also covered by soil and vegetation? Yucatan, eastern Mexico, Acanche Pyramid, not reconstructed yet, and Canarian Islands on the western coast of Africa. On 2 islands, especially on Tenerife, there were dozens of pyramids. Again, volcanic stone, step pyramids. From the western side, we got the stairway, which leads to the top of the pyramid. This side is oriented toward the summer solstice. So when the sun comes up, it comes exactly in the middle of the pyramid. On the western part of the island, in the place called Icod, there are more step pyramids. They've been neglected for centuries now. When I had a lecture in La Laguna University in Tenerife, I spoke to some of their professors before the lecture, and I asked them about the pyramids. I said, did you visit the pyramids in Guimar? They said, yeah, we were there, but we don't know if they are pyramids, because the official mainstream science is claiming that these are pile of rocks. And I told them, well, it's obvious that you have 4-sided pyramids, triangular sides, you have steps, you have volcanic stone which has been shaped. They said, well, we don't have PhD in archaeology, and our discussion was over. What happened there? The Spaniards 600 years ago wiped out completely the former inhabitants, Guanche people. And after that they claimed that they were primitive, cave-level people. In reality, Guanches were very advanced. They were building stone towns, irrigation panels, pyramids, and temples. On the other side of Africa, so Canarians are here, Africa, and here we have Mauritius, tiny island of Mauritius. Next year, 2010, they are going to celebrate 500 years of the existence of this island, actually of the population, which according to of their big pyramid, typical step pyramid built from the volcanic stone. This is partially reconstructed San Andres pyramid. On the top, something that we called temples. In South America, in Bolivia, 13,000 feet above the sea level, used to be a pyramid called Acapena. There is not so much left of that pyramid. It's mostly covered by soil and grass. But what we are finding around are perfectly shaped stone blocks made from granite. Granite is, of course, the strongest material ever. If you want to shape granite like this, nowadays we would need to machine it. Probably most researched pyramid in Central America, the pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza. And even the pyramids were built in South Korea. 3 circular step pyramid in Andong. Total of 16 pyramids in Greece. And they are all older than what they tell us is the age of Khufu's pyramid in Egypt. They are all small in size. This is the biggest one in Hellenikon, 25 by 20 meters, 12 meters high. The age, 4,700 years, or 2720 BC. Very nice workmanship. 5 locations in Italy with the pyramids. This is one of them, the island of Sicily. Step pyramid, built from volcanic stone. You see how nicely they shape the edges on the corners. This is one of the most beautiful. Hasn't been touched yet. The one in Santa Agata Goti. And about 6 months after I announced the existence of Bosnian pyramids, from eastern Ukraine, in the town of Lugansk, we heard the news that they discovered. They taught us in the school was that the pyramids existed only in Egypt and in Mexico. The truth is a little bit different. The pyramids were built everywhere, from South America, Peru, Bolivia, to Central America, Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador, Belize, Mexico, Atlantic Ocean, Canarian Islands, Africa, Egypt, Sudan, Mauritius, and Asia, China, Japan. The 21st century will be the era of researching the pyramids and trying to get the lost knowledge of the pyramid builders. I would say that there are some common properties of the pyramid complexes. First, of course, the geometry. In most cases, 90%, we have triangular faces, 4 of them, and square base. Second, these are built structures. They are not work of nature. The third, in most cases, we have a perfect orientation, north, south, east, and west. Angle of repose. These are very stable structures. Inside the pyramids, we have passageways and chambers. And finally, in most cases, the underground tunnel network follows the pyramids. But what do we know about them? After 200 years of investigation, Egyptology has not answered the main questions about the pyramids, at least about the main ones, about the main 6 pyramids, which are the oldest. The Cheops, Kephrans, Mycerans, Red, Bent, and Step Pyramid. We don't know their builders. We cannot say that the Pharaoh Khufu built the pyramid just because we found a small figurine 1 mile away from the pyramid and somebody inscribed 200 years ago a little hieroglyphic writings on the pyramid walls. In the main pyramids we don't have royal insignia, hieroglyphic writings, mummies, or anything that belong to the specific kingdoms, in this case 3rd and 4th dynasty. There are 130 pyramids in Egypt. The mystery is with the first 6 ones, which are much more superior than the ones that came later. The Step Pyramid is one of them. what they don't tell us is that under one pyramid in Saqqara archaeological location, there is an underground labyrinth, at least 10 kilometers of radius. Of course, the pyramids are built by the Mayan civilizations, thousands of them. The tallest one stands in Guatemala, about 94 meters. What we have here, again, triangular faces, 4 of them, perfect orientation. As we move during this lecture, we will realize that the concept of the pyramid building was everywhere, and the orientation also. It seems that if the pyramids were not oriented toward the north, they wouldn't work. The only pyramid where they found human bones, in the case of the Mayan civilization, was this one in Palenque. In tiny Belize, former British Honduras, 1,000 Mayan cities, towns and villages, every one of them would have at least one pyramid. Lamanai has the tallest pyramid in Belize. The pyramids were built in Southeast Asia, like on the island of Java. The complex very much looks like a Saqqara complex in Egypt. Western border between Cambodia and Thailand, Kokher Pyramid, also step pyramid. In El Salvador, today is only 4 Mayan cities are open for public. One of them in San Andres, and this is the model